From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
Welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. This is a weekly podcast, and it is about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our new episodes, all of our old episodes, and all the other amazing shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. His name is Sean. And Sean, how are you doing today?
John, I've heard of the ultimate blowjob, but this is too much.
No such thing.
Half of the girls at the office are starting to think you're gay.
I don't even know how to follow that up. So I'm just going to ask, what have you been watching lately?
What's the matter? You serve beer here or just milk? So
just milk.
Yeah. So
I've been Yeti full of milk right here.
Warm milk, I hope. Curdled, lukewarm, room temperature milk.
Straight from the tit.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Perfect. So I've been watching 3 things, John. Thanks for asking. 3 things. I always watch 3 things. That's all I can really fit in my schedule is 3 things. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is an HBO documentary series of sorts. I believe it's going to be 6 episodes. As of this recording, they've really only have 1 episode out, but it comes out on the day that we record. So there should be 2 out as of today. But it's a documentary series called Born to Bowl, and it's
Ooh.
Yeah, it's similar to the League of Ordinary Gentlemen that we talked about, I don't know, a while back. It's a documentary that's kind of about the PBA tour when they were really struggling. Not to say that they've gotten over the hump of struggling, because I think they're still probably struggling. I think they're in a perpetual struggle of man versus pin. But this follows...
I don't know. They've been on every Saturday the last 3 weeks, because I go to put something on and I have to, scroll through the old-fashioned guide to get to whatever game I'm trying to find.
Mm-hmm.
I always skip over ABC, which always has PBA bowling every
great.
Saturday. The last
That's good to hear.
Anyway,
so this series, it follows, I believe, 4 different bowlers that are making their way through the tour. They're gonna all the different tournaments that they're in, how they do, and then I think, as the series goes on, the first episode is, again, the only one I've been able to watch so far, but it's like a 37-minute show. So they just get into the bowlers they're going to follow and their personalities. And I think they cover the first tournament, which I believe is in Indianapolis. I don't remember what that's actually called, but it seems like there's going to be more drama as the show goes on, and they follow a guy that's got a lot of wins and all the way down to a guy who's a rookie. So it seems like it's pretty interesting. I just like the behind the scenes of all the bowling stuff. We talked about it again on the episode. We talked about the League of Ordinary Gentlemen, but I bowled for a long time as a youngster. My parents were big bowlers, Saturday nights doing mixed doubles and all that shit. So I find bowling to be intriguing. To follow up on the Inside the Manosphere documentary you talked about last week with Louis Theroux, I binged hardcore 6 or 7 episodes of Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends, and it ran the gamut from born-again Christians to UFOs to survivalists to people in porn to infomercials to swingers, and of course wrestling. That the wrestling one was entertaining. He talked to some people.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, all the things you want to know about. He talked to people in WCW, and then he went to a really independent wrestling promotion, really pushed the hardcore stuff, thumbtacks and barbed wire and blading yourself and all that stuff. So they really go down the rabbit hole with all that. The thing that I like about Louis Theroux is that he might know, at least in this period, that show ran from, I want to say it was 1998 to 2000. So he's a lot younger, obviously, but he brings this naivety to asking questions where he might know the answer, but he just plays it off I don't know anything about this. Can you tell me about this? And sometimes people...
What is porn?
Sometimes people are nice about it, and sometimes when the wrestling thing, they take it the wrong way. And you kind of expect that he's going to get punched at any minute, and he gets away with not getting punched, but there's a part where he meets somebody that's in WCW, the Sarge, who was one of the people who work out wrestlers at the power plant, which was WCW's kind of training ground. You had to pay WCW to get this wrestling training, and then they They give you like rings. They teach you ring skills. They teach you mic skills and other things. And he goes to visit them after asking the question about like, is this all predetermined to Sarge? And when he goes to the power plant, Sarge just works him out to the point of puking, basically. So I just like the show. I haven't really watched a lot of his more recent stuff. I watched his documentary about Scientology. This was a few years ago that I haven't watched it recently, but so I like his kind of line of questioning is, I'm from the BBC. I'm from Britain. I don't know anything about this, where it's like some hardcore fans of wrestling, reside in the UK. So that was one other thing I watched. The last thing I'm going to touch on this week is it was Saturday night. And my younger daughter, who's 14, was like, hey, I said, you want to watch a movie? She's like, sure. I'm like, do you have any suggestions? She says, no, not really. I said, oh, that means I get to pick? And she said, yeah. So I forgot what the initial choice was going to be, but we ended up watching
Nostril Picker.
No. It was going to be, God, I can't remember what it was, but we ended up watching Mallrats.
Black Double Down from Hell on VHS.
No, I wanted to ease her into something. I said, can we watch something sci-fi? And she was like, no. I said, can we watch like a drama? And she's like, no. I said, is comedy okay? And she said, yeah, that's fine. And I wanted to think of something that I liked as like in my 20s, my younger years. So we watched Mallrats. And the thing that kept coming up, the reoccurring question she kept asking me was this movie in theaters? Like, was this an actual released movie? And I said, yeah, why do you ask if it was like straight to video? Or she's like, I don't know, it just has that quality to it. Or I don't remember what her exact answer was, but the only thing, like I was expecting, I kind of laughed at some of the stuff and some of it I forgot, like, oh, the third nipple piece and the top, some of the nude, the topless scenes, which weren't too gratuitous, but 2
or 3 in that.
Yeah, the changing room scene and the
fitting room, and I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it for topless. And she really only laughed at the kid is still on the escalator. That kid is still on the escalator. That's really the only thing she laughed about. And she was asking me like, why does that guy keep saying like snoochie boochies and all that shit? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why. That's just what he says. That's just what his thing. And I quoted a line after Jay said it about, should I call you Logan? He's like, no, Weapon X, Wolverine, and she was like, how do you know this? And I was like, I've seen this movie like at least 15 times, at least. I own the tape. And then my wife, we talked to her on the phone and she's like, oh yeah, ask her if she wants to hear the soundtrack. I can probably dig it up out of the basement. So she was unimpressed by how lame her parents were. But yeah, those are the 3 things. I did watch something else, but I'll get into it next time. So those are the 3 things, John, that I watched. What have you been watching, friendo?
No Kevin Smith this week.
Womp womp.
I have a movie, a TV show, and a docuseries. Which one do you want first?
Docuseries, please.
All right. So, surprised to no one, I found another football docuseries I could watch, and this one was about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's on Amazon, I believe. It's called Raise the Flags. Basically, this one covers their entire franchise from inception to about 2024. It's through the last year that Brady plays. It doesn't go much. I think they mentioned that they signed Baker at the end of it, but it really doesn't go into that season or anything like that. It basically stops with the last year that Brady played. Pretty well done series. It goes, I didn't have a ton of questions about the Buccaneers to begin with. I knew they were bad. I know that they've been good occasionally, and they're like the majority of teams in the NFL where they start bad, then they get kind of good, and maybe they win a little bit, and then they get bad again, and they go up and down on that thing. What was kind of interesting about it is, well, I don't know if it's interesting. What's your opinion on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers creamsicle uniforms, the orange ones with the Bucco Bruce on it?
Love them.
See, that's how I felt too. And I still think I feel that way with it. But I will say after watching because this is like, I think 8 episodes of this series, they don't bring the new logo in until like maybe halfway through this documentary. After about 4 hours of it, I was like, I think I've seen enough of this fucking orange pirate for a little bit.
Oh, rude.
I still like it more than the current version of what they wear. Like, I feel like you probably could have, I don't know, gotten somewhere between the two of them. I hate the alarm clock numbers on the new jersey. I think they got rid of those actually, but when they originally had them, they looked like alarm clock numbers.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, Bucko Bruce is back. I love Bucko Bruce. That's such a good look. And yeah, by the time they got to the changing it, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of ready to not see that orange for the next 4 hours of this documentary. But it's interesting because it really feels like a documentary. They don't say this at any point, but it really feels like ownership means a lot more to a football franchise than more so than coaches, more so than players, because the one thing that seems true about that franchise in particular. So the original owner is dead, but his kids own it now, the team now. There seems to be a pretty consistent message of we're trying to win, not we're just trying to make money, or we're just trying to sell jerseys or whatever the case is. They obviously it doesn't always work, and I think that's true for every team, except the Patriots apparently. But yeah, it seems like whenever they talk about like the team being at its lowest point, they're never like, I don't know, it always seems like they were looking at it from a point of like, okay, these things all suck. This is how we turn it around. And more often than not it's not like it just flipping a switch. It's like, oh, quarterbacks suck. Insert new quarterback. That doesn't always work that way. I guess it does if you get Tom Brady at the right time. But more often than not, they seem to be pretty decent at recognizing what's going wrong and figuring out a way to fix it, even when it's detriment to the team. Like the whole Gruden trade is, I guess it worked because they won a Super Bowl from it. But the idea of giving up, I think they gave up 2 first-round picks to get a coach. Just seems fucking asinine to me. Like, why would you? I guess if you win a Super Bowl, it's all worth it, but it seems like a bad fucking idea. And then just watching the John Gruden arch, which is a typical John Gruden trajectory where it's like really good, and then just all of a sudden the plane's crashing and it's on fire and flammage until it's not anymore. It's pretty much that. But that was interesting enough to see. They find a lot of cool people to interview. If you like football or sports documentaries, it's not the best one that I've seen, but it's far from the worst. And it held my attention the whole time without too much of a problem. So I would recommend that for sure. You didn't ask, and we can go right into the TV show because I have more to say about that than the movie. I've been rewatching The Critic, which is on Tubi. It's a John Lovett show. For those who don't know, he plays the main character, Jay Sherman, who is a film critic set in 1994. And
it stinks.
Holy shit, it does stink. The show's just okay. Like, it only went 2 seasons, and by the end of the second season, it really feels like they're recycling the same gag over and over and over. Like, it just is constant throughout the whole thing. Marlon Brando is a frequent target of ridicule in this show, which, whether it's like straight up like making fun of Marlon Brando or someone like doing some sort of Brando impersonation throughout the show as like a butler or an ape or whatever, like it's just the same gag over and over again. I will say, I think it kind of is a much heavier influence to Family Guy than what it gets credit for, because the amount of cutaway gags, it's basically Family Guy. Like, they'll be like, oh, this is like when I saw Jurassic Park 2. And, now they're on like Jurassic Park 7 or some shit. But it cuts away to, something stupid that's supposed to imply like this is a bad movie, but we're going to laugh at it. And realistically, I'm like, I want to see that version of Jurassic Park 2. I still think my favorite is Death Wish 9, where it's just Bronson laying in a hospital bed. They cut to him. He goes, I wish I was dead. That's the whole fucking movie. So it's got its moments that are pretty good. The other thing it does is it's got its moments where it's like, oh, we were so blissfully ignorant in 1994. Like, there's a handful of jokes that are just like praising Bill Cosby. Like, at one point they actually mark like Bill Cosby's birth as like the second coming of Jesus as like a gag. I'm like, oh, that did not age well at all.
If you only knew.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not the only one, but that's the one that's probably the most glaring, because they praise Bill Cosby quite a few times. And I'm like, that didn't age well.
They're waiting for Leonard Perksen.
There's also quite a bit of 90s gay bashing in it. Like, it's not straight up homophobic, I wouldn't go that far because I lived through that era. But I think if there were a lot of younger ears listening to it, they would probably say it is going that far. It's a lot of like, gay people are okay, but I'm not gay. Like those types of jokes that are kind of peppered throughout the show. And it's another one of the things I'm like, it's just not funny. Like it's not landing for me. So, but I would say as long as you're not overly sensitive about that specifically, it's not that long of a watch. It's all 20-minute episodes and there's only like 20 of them. So you'll be there depending on how, like for roughly, 6-7 hours, depending on how like many sittings you want to do with it.
That's like one sitting through In Search of Darkness.
Yeah, basically. So it's definitely aged less well than In Search of Darkness. Well, I can pretty confidently say that. And then last and certainly not least on the movie side, I dip my head into the toxic barrel of Trauma Town again and watch Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town, because with a title like Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town, it's got to be something, and that something is not very good. So have you seen this one? I know you're aware of it. I didn't know if you watched it.
I haven't seen the whole thing. No, I know of it, but I haven't seen it. I know there's some scene where somebody's buried up to their head or something. And is that in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not the most entertaining scene is when they hurl a coffin through a window and like shenanigans break loose. But let's put it this way. You're going to be very, very aware of the fact that you're watching a trauma movie about 5 minutes into it, and you never really lose that. And this isn't like watching the remake of Toxie. This is like straight up like, what year is that? Probably 1980 something, 1990 something. I don't have it in front of me. You're talking late 80s, early 90s trauma. So you should have a pretty, if you know trauma, you have a pretty good idea what kind of nonsense you're getting yourself into. It's not the worst trauma movie I've seen, but it's also something I have absolutely zero desire to go back to. Now, when I say this, most of the movie is just chicks in leather jackets, kicking guys in the balls and riding around on Harleys, and occasionally some people that they claim are zombies show up who they didn't even bother to paint these guys up. Like they didn't even take some like powder and like antique them or anything, or like spray paint them or nothing. They just told them to kind of go, that cool zombie. That's pretty much it. This goes on for like an hour and a half. Occasionally like a little bar fighter, like a brouhaha breaks out, and it's kind of yakety schmack of it. There's really nothing good. It's just like, oh, God, I would rather sit through all 6 hours of The Critic again than watch Chopper Chicks from Zombie Town all over again. The only other thing that's interesting in it is for about 5 minutes, Billy Bob Thornton pops up. I'm like, is that Billy Bob? Why is he here? And really all he does is act like a guy who's been drinking for a couple days, get in a fight and leave. That's pretty much it. So
I was going to say, what is he doing in there? What is he doing up there?
Not much. He's getting a very, very small by Billy Bob Thornton standards paycheck, or at least by Billy Bob Thornton in 2026 standards. Definitely not making money like he did shilling T-Mobile phones or whatever he's doing now.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yeah, it is T-Mobile, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, with his stupid cowboy boots. But yeah, Chopper Chicks in Town. Avoid that one. Go watch the other two, I guess. Anything else you want to sprinkle in before taking a break?
No.
I'm glad you were in deep thought. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to talk about Lady Terminator, the whole reason that this theme exists for Crummy Movie March. We'll be right back.
Stop the podcast. Do you hear that? That's the sound of us being 4 years late to our own party.
Relax. You're going to burst a blood vessel. It's just the Patreon launch.
Just the launch? It's 2026 and we're just now asking people to support the Dewey Pod Monster? The internet is basically a sentient cloud now, and we're still trying to set up tiers.
True, but our tiers include the I forgive you level, where we finally admit we have no concept of time.
Fine. If you want to keep this monster alive and maybe buy me some Xanax, go to patreon.com/DeweyPodMonster.
Do it now, before we discover what a TikTok is in 2035.
We're so behind.
Hey fam, Newman here from Movies for Days, your non-pretentious easy access movie chat podcast and weekly deep dive into any film from any genre, from any decade with anybody's guess as to how we chose that movie that week. Proud member of the You Run Podcast Network. Check us out where all great podcasts can be heard. And on Twitter at Movies Days. Movies is spelled regular, Days is spelled with a Z.
All right, we're back. And as mentioned, we are talking about the entire reason for this year's Crummy Movie March Marathon's theme, which is Terminator knockoffs. This movie is called Lady Terminator, and we're going to start with a third-party review from Sex Ray Specs over on Letterboxd. And they give this movie 4.5 stars out of 5. And Sex Ray Specs says, just when I thought gun deaths weren't funny anymore, Lady Terminator blows me away. The chain of mayhem, sex appeal is shameless and unbroken from start to finish, which I feel like's pretty well spoken. But we're going to talk about the movie anyway. Sean, what is Lady Terminator all about?
All right, so to answer that question, John, thanks for asking. We go over to imdb.com. It's this website. I think it's something about an internet movie database or something. But anyways, we put in the words Lady Terminator, and it pulls up a film from 1989 with an R rating. It's an hour and 22 minutes. It gets a 5.5 out of 10 on the IMDb rating scale with 2.300 ratings. And we read this little snippet at the top. We're never quite sure if it's the storyline or the plot, but they wouldn't put it up on the top if you weren't supposed to read it first, right? It says, the spirit of an ancient evil queen possesses the body of a young anthropological student who then goes on a murderous rampage. And if we scroll on down, we go to the storyline. This is care of P-Ham. And P-Ham says, a sexy anthropologist is on holiday, goes for a swim in the sea, and when she gets back to dry land, she has become Lady Terminator, possessed by the spirit of an ancient and evil South Seas queen, who is invincible to gunfire, whom is just waiting to go on a murderous rampage. She is soon armed with an AK-47 and isn't afraid to use it, as she now takes to the streets of Indonesia to get revenge on those who have wronged her and get a bit of male company that she hasn't had the pleasure of for a rather long time. Sit back and enjoy this Indonesian cheesy horror with more than the occasional nod to the Terminator.
I gotta say, whoever P-Ham or whoever, it's a general rule of thumb for your storylines that you're writing in here, you might want to run them through a grammar check, because I heard you struggling to read it a little bit, and I was reading along with you. I'm like, wait, what? These words are in the wrong fucking order.
Some of them, yeah. It's a little difficult. Punctuation is not a friend here.
No, definitely not. I'm assuming that there's not a lot of people that we know other than for this movie, but Sean, is there anyone in this cast that you want to highlight here?
Oh, of course. I want to talk about Barbara Anne Constable, who plays Tanya, Christopher J. Hart, who plays Max, the cop. We have Claudia Angelique Rademaker, who plays Erica. Joseph P. Glynn plays Joe. Adam Stardust as Snake played himself in an episode of This Is Your Life, believe it or not. We have Ikang Fauzi, who plays Tom. The only other English titles that Ikang Fauzi was in a movie called NBA Married by Accident in 2008 and Angel Without Wings in 2012. And the rest of the main cast has never been in a single thing other than this movie. There are some uncredited actors that are credited on IMDb but not credited in the movie or something. But those people have tons of Indonesian credits, but I don't read Indonesian or whatever the official language is. I don't know that. So I'm just going to leave it with what I got.
I was going to say this is the first movie in a while where we've had a lot of people who were in this movie and nothing else, and absolutely no one has a picture on IMDb.
Yeah. I think that's the main thing, is that like nobody has a picture on here at all.
Yeah. So I know for me, I found this movie thanks to Instagram and a couple people bringing it to my attention a little bit over a year ago, and I made a point of searching it out. And put it bluntly, I fell in love with this movie instantly. You were over here maybe a couple days later, and I kind of subjected you to it like in short order after the first time I watched it. So I'm not going to ask you when the first time was that you saw this because I already know that. But had you even heard about this before I had, I don't know, forced you to watch it, I guess? I don't know if I forced you, but Clockwork Orange you into watching this movie?
I hadn't heard of it before. You were like, you got to see this. This was one of those movies that you stop somebody. You could have stopped some random person on the street.
Sure.
You're like, hey, come here. Hey, what are you doing? You got an hour and 22 minutes. Come here and watch this. So yeah, that's how I found out about it. Was you were like, hey,
and it's very specific.
Exactly. Yeah. If you were 10 seconds over, you wouldn't have had enough time for it, but you had an hour and 22. So you showed it to whoever.
I kind of, I mean, and we're going to get into it, but I do feel like this is one of those movies that's not just like one of those weird, like off-title movies in the sense that like, it's one of those almost you have to know someone who's putting it on your radar in the first place, even now on the day of the internet. But it is very much so. I mean, I can't think of another movie that one of us watched and was so quick to be like, oh my God, you got to watch this like now, not tomorrow. Like, I don't care what your wife is telling you to do.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you got to watch it. Call back an hour and 23 later, 3 minutes later. What did you think?
Is it done? Did you finish?
I didn't. Right.
I didn't even start it. I'm still on the toilet.
So it sounds like we're already kind of for an hour and 22 minutes. That's a fucking.
It was a rough day. Real rough.
So anyway, let's start with positives, and I'll let you lead us off this time because I don't know why not. Sean, what are some of the things, if anything, that you enjoy about the movie Lady Terminator?
Well, much like Jay Sherman, I have to say it stinks. No, I think the thing to really, before we really get into it, to be prepared about when you see this movie, and it goes into a like, is that the movie it's definitely dubbed. Like, I'm sure it was filmed so it could be distributed to multiple countries because, it's just one of those movies. If you aren't familiar with Indonesian cinema, film, whatever, that's very common. Like, I've seen movies where there was an English or an Australian actor who played the lead. He's entirely dubbed. And then they have another version of that movie that's like for the Indonesian audience. And the main character that was an Australian ends up being another Indonesian guy. And the movie's exactly the same. So I don't know why they do that. But this movie is definitely dubbed for all the good reasons that you could think of, for all the bad reasons that you could possibly think of. And then on top of that, like going into a positive for me, I feel like all the dialogue, almost 99% of the dialogue that's in this movie is just nonsensically hilarious. It's the yes. the dubbing doesn't match at all. It's not like even close. I mean, there's some people that you can tell that they're probably speaking English, but they're, for whatever reason, they're dubbed. Maybe the sound wasn't good or the person's accent was too thick. The voices don't match the people at all. And the person that you kind of think is going to be the main character, Tanya, who ends up being Lady Terminator, she tells every character while she still speaks, every character she can tell that she's an anthropologist, but the way the voice sounds, it sounds like such a ditzy person's voice. Like, not that somebody who sounds a particular way can't be a particular profession, but it just doesn't fit at all the person that you're seeing these words come out of. And the other thing, there's a scene that I'm thinking of in particular where they try to establish that one of the cops, I believe Max, the main male character, he's like a Westerner, and they're in this like expat bar where everything's decorated as if it's British. They have like, it's like a pub. They're getting like pints and all this stuff. And these two Southerners, where these two like Southern American accented people would just walk into the bar, where they'd come from, no idea. But they just come in, they're like, oh, so you serve beer here or just milk? And they're like just bumping into everybody. And it's just, I just love the way that the accents and the voices don't fit anybody. The dubbing is preposterous, but in all the best ways, I thought.
I think my favorite point of dubbing is at the very end of the movie when the Americans are there, like in the big climax of it, and they are driving tanks and helicopters through explosions and shit. I think you just hear one guy, if I remember, just in the most Southern, but like jock sounding accent, just goes rock and roll as he like goes barreling through some horrible explosion. It's just amazing. For me, like, I'm right there with you on the dubbing. I think it is one of the most entertaining even when it's bad, it's very entertaining in this movie. And I think we should probably get used to in this episode to realizing that bad can be a compliment, like in some cases. I actually really, when the Terminator switch gets turned on, there's a lot that this movie does I think is really, one, entertaining, and I like how they did the majority of it. I think it's entertaining how blatant of a Terminator ripoff this is. And I mean, it's everything from like, they go to a nightclub and have a shootout in a nightclub. They do the eyeball scene and she just like washes it off, and the eyeballs all of a sudden the size of like a baseball that she shoves back into her face.
And it looks like a hamburger. She just stuffs on her eye and it instantly like goes in her face.
She just rinses it off and it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a bunch of lines that she knocks off from the Terminator, the original Terminator movie. So there's a lot of stuff where there's, you know, we've used Terminator knockoffs of the theme of this month, and there's plenty of nods to Terminator or things being lifted from Terminator in every one of these movies. This one feels like the most blatant ripoff that we've covered all month for sure. And on a lesser note, maybe this is me just being too much of a male, but I really like seeing a fairly attractive woman in leather going around blowing the shit out of everything and shooting everything up. Like, because really, once this movie gets going, like once it gets to the point where she's Terminator or whatever, I don't want to say it's devoid of plot, because it does have a little bit of a plot that's in there. It's got just enough plot to kind of do what it needs to do. You could tell someone like this movie is just a fairly attractive woman blowing the shit out of people, and not in that way, just, you know, shooting everything and blowing everything up, you know, in a very, it's just over the top violence. And it's the kind of over the top violence. It's late 80s practical effects, real explosions. You know, does it always look good? No. Does it always look better than CG? Absolutely. Every single character, good guy or bad guy, has the unlimited ammo code turned on, because I don't think you ever see one person reload, even though every gun fires off like thousands of rounds like every second.
It's very much the case where when for effect they'll reload, but in the moment they never do. Like if it's, oh no, the hero might get shot, then it's like, oh, I'm out of ammo, I gotta, you know, reload. But yeah, there's not very many instances where in the middle of a fight they're like loading their gun or changing the cartridge or any of that stuff.
Yeah, but it's like just barely, like just coming up to the point where it's like action packed to a fault, but then it sees that fault line, it's like, now we're good. And it just it's like, all right, we're gonna take a break for a minute and go like have some electricity come out of her tits, and then like have some other thing happen for 2 seconds. Or like, I'm ready for some more gunfights. We're back to the gunfights and all the crazy shit.
Yeah, so. Bang, 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 bang. I'm
oversimplifying it. I don't know.
Well, to your point about the mockumentary part of this, not mockumentary, to your point of the mockbuster kind of feel to this movie, I just wrote down off the top of my head while I was watching it, like, oh, this scene is something that's very, you know, quote unquote, inspired by Terminator. There's once she goes in the ocean and she's looking for, so should we get into like what the plot is after this? I'll say,
yeah, I'll say you might as well, because the plot's like one line. So
basically
the main plot is like,
so the main plot is the South Sea Witch, or the South Sea Queen, which is like a real legend in Indonesia. This woman, basically, she can't ever find a mate because her vagina basically like bites off people's penises, and I think she absorbs their power.
Well, she can find a mate, she just can't find one that gets her off.
Yes,
that's where the problem
to her satisfaction. So
right,
this guy comes
common
in.
Common problem among,
so I've heard.
You know,
so I've heard. Ask my wife.
Yeah.
So there's this guy comes in and he kind of is able to take care of her needs, and he tricks her into, it's like the 1,000th man or the 100th man or something like that, and he tricks her, and this snake comes out of her vagina essentially, and the guy grabs the snake and he turns it into this kriss, which is like one of those like serpentine daggers.
It's like a knife.
Yeah. And he takes the knife and she curses him. She says, in 100 years, your granddaughter is going to be cursed and stuff. Right. So then this anthropological student is out in the ocean with Popeye and some other guy, and she goes diving and she discovers the dagger, but she becomes cursed at the same time or something along those lines. And when she comes out of the water, now she's possessed by the South Sea Witch, and her mission is to get the amulet that the granddaughter's wearing and to get the knife and carry out the curse. So, with all that being said, the scenes that I have that are off the top of my head direct nods or taken directly from Terminator, and tell me if I missed anything that you can remember. When she comes out of the water and she takes care of those two guys, and those two fucking guys, the one guy's trying to drink his own piss, like that's what he's doing on the beach, and they're just like super drunk and they're just laughing at everything.
Super comfortable with sloppy seconds.
Yes. Yeah. The second guy is very comfortable. That's very much like the scene with Bill Paxton when Arnold comes to town, he warps in and he steals her clothes, because that's where she gets the jacket from. We have the nightclub scene that you mentioned, complete with the bodies that fall on our heroes and the partner saves them. We have the police station assault. We have the love scene between the two main characters other than the Lady Terminator. We have the eyeball scene, and I'm not going to give away what the final scene is, but the final chase where Lady Terminator is kind of like the exoskeleton chasing them into the factory and the press and all that. Is there anything that you can think of that I missed?
I mean, she's not an exoskeleton, but,
right? But she's all torn up and looks hilarious.
I think there's a couple like one-liners that she drops in there, but as far as scenes, I think you hit the major ones. So,
and to even touch on some of the stuff that you talked about, I think the explosions, the way that they do some of the things, it's very clearly like there's a big wave that takes over the boat, and there's like a car that blows up and a plane that blows up, and it's very clear that these are models of things, which makes it even funnier. It's just icing on the cake with all the other crazy shit that happens in this movie. Those are just like, oh my God, I still
prefer it to a CG explosion 1,000% of the time.
Yeah, there's not like little model people next to it where it makes it look super fake. It's just that the way an explosion happens and how light and how small these models are when they blow up, they just like fly all over the place. And you're like, that doesn't look real, but I'll take it. I'll accept it.
I mean, it's definitely entertaining. And that's probably the biggest thing this movie gets right. Like, because I think at the heart of it, this is one of those movies that's like, if you say like, hey, John, is Lady Terminator a good movie? I'm going to say no, but it's by far one of the most entertaining movies that you're going to watch in a really long time. Like, this movie firmly belongs in like the Crummy Movie March catalog. For sure.
Yeah.
But I'd be damned if, like I said, I watched this movie and within 2 days was like, you got to watch this. Like, and had you like watching it too. So, like I said, this movie is just fun as hell from start to finish. I'm kind of mad that I haven't made more people watch it at the moment.
Yeah. I just like the way that when Tanya is the Lady Terminator, there's that whole police assault scene, the assault on the police station. And she's just no nonsense. She kicks a door in, she just shoots her gun. Picks her gun up, swings around 180s, goes to the other side, kicks the door and shoots everything.
I actually think when she's not talking, so when she's not being dubbed, and I'm going to go as far as to say, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, say the dubbing is probably what makes her performance less good than if she was just delivering lines. But when she's not talking, when she's just essentially being a Terminator, she sells it. Like,
she does.
The way she's kicking doors, the way she's like handling the weapon, like, I don't know if it's legitimate or not. I don't know enough about firearms to be that guy, but it looks movie good. Like, she looks intense. I wouldn't fuck with her. Like, I'd be afraid of her if I saw this chick with like an assault rifle and a leather jacket walking up the street, like blowing up cars, like, I'm going to go the other way. I'm just going to go not involve myself with what's going on here. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to break this down like scene by scene. I really think this is a movie that, like, more so than most, like, you can probably hear it. This is probably going to get a lot of hot dogs out of this movie. So are there any negatives that you really have in this that we need to hit on?
Well, I do want to mention one other thing about this being an Indonesian film. The Indonesian films that I've seen, which I've seen like about maybe half a dozen different movies of this kind of ilk. The thing that I love that they do is, I don't know if it's because because they can't do the action fast enough, but there are several scenes in this movie.
Oh, they speed the camera
where they
up.
speed the camera up for driving, people walking, just like the action, the kicking, all that stuff. And I think that the other thing is like, it's not a rich country, but they have these cars that look almost like an American car, but they're not quite the American car. And you're like, this is just so charming. You know, it's just, they're not, there's something not quite right about it. And I think it's great.
There's a point where I think it's when they're coming out of, they're in like a shopping center or something. She's in a parking structure and she's chasing after what's her face and what's his nut, the two
Max and Erica.
people.
Yeah,
whatever. And they take off in some like Buick or some shit like that. And she's like, God damn it. She doesn't say that, but she goes over to the car that she had already stolen. And it's like some shitbox like Toyota or something that's got like, it's not rust because it's Indonesia. Like that's only a Michigan thing. It's got like big chunks of paint that have been like just stripped off of it. Like it's missing like one of the panels like over the wheel well. It's like this utter.
It's a shitbox.
I'm like, you could have stolen a car that's maybe less shitbox.
It's a Toyota shitbox.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So do you have nitpicks with this or anything that's like, I'm sure we could, but like for me, the challenge is like, are these real things that I'm mad about or the things that are bad, but I'm still laughing with it?
I think for me, the thing about this movie, it's not necessarily a negative, but the way that some of the characters just stare straight down the barrel of the camera out of nowhere, it's not breaking the fourth wall because they're not addressing the audience. There's no like conversation, there's no dialogue to the audience, but they just, I don't know if it's they're trying to look for lines or something, but they just start staring at the camera and you're like, this is weird. Why are you staring at me? I think the other thing is like, there are scenes that you could kind of do without. There's the whole Erica's performance scene when you first like meet her and there's this whole like, it's almost like a music video, which was very common in the 80s of them to throw in this stuff to kind of pad out the movie. But, you know, we've already said this movie's only an hour and 22 minutes. It does move pretty quick once you start to get into it, but it does take a little bit of time to get off the ground. It's also one of those movies where
it's like 15, 20 minutes to kind of really get going.
And the first 15 minutes, there's like 8 of it that are just static credits on top of a black screen. And you're like, okay. But, you know, they didn't quite hear yet in Indonesia that movies are supposed to be an hour and a half long. So they didn't get there. But if you took out some of the extemporaneous things that don't really need to be in the movie, you're really looking at probably like an hour and 10 minutes.
An hour.
Yeah, an hour would probably be fine. So I think for me, the only thing that they really struggle with is some of the padding. But I think once and there's another scene where Max is like pouring his heart out about his dead wife and them opening the restaurant in Minnesota. Whatever. You're like, what the fuck? How did we get here? Like, why are we talking about this? I just think some of that stuff doesn't need to be there, but it's also, in a way, it's a nice break because there is so much nonstop action that's going on, which that's not a negative thing for me. The last thing I'll say is like, I've never seen, this is almost like praise. I have never seen in a movie someone use an Uzi and it be semi-automatic. Like there's the whole nightclub dance scene where our Lady Terminator has an Uzi and she's just firing single shots off. This thing's like blowing people's chests open. They're getting shot in the head and all this crazy shit. And I've never seen, I'm sure you can put an Uzi in semi-auto mode, but I've just never seen it in a movie.
I think if I was going to say, I don't even know if this is a negative or just something weird that I notice. It doesn't really bother me and I do laugh at it from time to time. The musical cues in this are all over the fucking place in this movie. And I did not notice it the first couple times I watched it because I was laughing too much and having fun with it. There's scenes, they have like a dramatic pause for like 2 seconds. Like, I'm sure this is in the scene where the guy's like crying his eyes out about his wife or whatever. Like, it will start with no soundtrack playing and he'll start bawling or whatever. And whoever he's bawling to will look at him and just stare at him weird. And the soundtrack will kick in like or whatever it's doing. Just weird soundtrack cues that it doesn't last long enough for it to really throw you off. And it doesn't like, again, I don't care enough with this particular movie for it to call it a true negative because this movie's so like bonkos to begin with that, like, sure, why not have that be weird too? But if you're looking at it critically, and if you're somehow bored with this movie, which I don't think is even remotely possible, I could see that being something like, why the hell is the music like blaring in at this point, like in the weirdest spots? Which I've seen less Indonesian film than you. I've only seen a handful of them that I can remember. So maybe we need to do an Indonesian month or something. That sounds like it could get old really quick for at least 2 people. But that would be my only thing that's like, again, I'm going to call it a nitpick just because I need something to put in this section. But realistically, I didn't really mind it that much. I just noticed it after the 3rd time watching. I'm like, why is the soundtrack doing that? Whatever. So, oh, look, she shot someone in the dick again. Cool. Moving on. So
he deserved it.
I mean, again, I'm going to just go on talking about how fun this movie is. So unless you got like big points you want to add in, let's fire up the grill and let's wrap Crummy Movie March up with a lady terminating bang.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
You're going to have so many phrasing things that you could just pull out of this and just make me sound like an idiot, but that's cool. I'll lead us off. This movie is everything that a film should aspire to, especially if you want to be a crummy movie or a B movie. It's ridiculous. It's fun. It's unashamed about what it's ripping off. The lead character that you follow through the majority of the movie, even though she's the bad guy, is likable in a way just because no reason not to like her. I give this movie like the most plump, juicy, full-on Detroit Coney, like all the chili, mustard, and onions, everything you can get. This is one of the most entertaining movies that we've talked about through the entire run of this show, and I can't recommend it high enough.
Whose hot dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
This month of Terminator knockoffs, or at least Terminator clones, has been a lot of fun, and this movie is probably the closest we've come to using the most scenes from that original movie. Tanya, the Lady Terminator, she isn't a robot. She doesn't have cybernetics. She's possessed by the power of a demon or a witch or something. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And it's seemingly just as good. There are lots of ridiculous explosions, lots of silly dialogue, just enough Scooby-Doo, cat and mouse, running after, chasing each other. And everything looks so half-assedly done. That doesn't sound like it's a compliment, but ultimately the movie is just so much fun. Everything just adds to how fun it is. Don't take it seriously, right? Like this is not Oscar worthy material, but it's just a lot of fun. If you're in the mood for something that's Terminator or as fun as the Terminator, but without Arnold and the whole crew, I think you should give this movie a try. Obviously, I give it a full hot dog. When you and I watched this movie initially, I just remember us constantly laughing at everything that came up on the screen, all the silly shit that was going on. It didn't matter that we didn't know what the fuck was going on because we probably couldn't hear anything because we were just laughing about it the entire time. It feels only fitting for us to finish this year's Crummy Movie March and the Terminator theme with this movie because it feels so lifted from the original movie. But it's just, I mean, you know, what more can you say? It's just a lot of fun. If you're in the mood to watch a silly, just kind of crappy, crummy movie, this is probably one of the most entertaining movies that we've watched, if not in the run of the show, in a very long time. I mean, I'm sure we've watched stuff that's it's got to be comparable.
5,
yeah,
sure.
But definitely top 10, easily top 5 for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's all we got for this month. We're out of the Terminator knockoff woods. So take that for what it's worth. We'll see how that goes going forward. You got anything else to wrap up Crummy Movie March with, or you want to just get out of here on this?
No, I mean, I don't think I have anything, no real Jerry Springer final thoughts. I do think that I already have an idea of what I want for the theme for next year to be. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag.
What's
that?
Predator knockoffs.
I don't know if there are a lot of
RoboCop knockoffs. I feel like we already did a couple RoboCop knockoffs.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. But no, I think I've got a good idea. It's not going to be Indonesian movies, but it's definitely something that would fit into that theme. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, stay tuned for the next 12 months for that. We'll be back talking about Crummy Movie March next March. Until then, we'll have plenty of other stuff, and I'm sure we'll find plenty of other crummy and or flat out bad movies to sprinkle in over the course of the year. If you'd like to hear any of that, of course, you can find us on all the social medias. We talk about everything that we do on there. We're at Dewey Pod Monster all over the place, with the exception of Blue Sky, where we are at crap.town. Of course, you can go to our site, which is also crap.town. That's where all of our content is, and you can leave us feedback on there. Or you can go to our network site, which is yourunpodcast.com, where you can find our show as well as all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network. Additionally, we are a crowd support show. If you have time or if you would like to, you can go to patreon.com/DeweyPodMonster. We have different tiers available and different ways you can help support the show so we can keep bringing new crummy movies or maybe a good movie every now and then, talk about them for you. There's all kinds of cool things you can get involved with on there and let us know more of what you want to hear as well. Sean, what am I forgetting?
Well, I just wanted to say thanks to all the current patrons, people that patronize our show. We appreciate each and every one of y'all that do that to help us out. If there's anything that we talked about at the top of the show that you're interested in, it's going to be left in the show notes. You know, it's 90% of that stuff is free. We're not going to change that with having the Patreon or any of that stuff. So it's still going to be free on there. There are some things, unfortunately, that we just can't find online for you to be able to watch for free. Those things are more than likely going to be linked on Amazon Prime. If you click those links, they're affiliate links. If you buy something after you click those links, some small portion of that money will come to us. That's another great way to support the show without like directly contributing cash to us. I mean, we would prefer that you just send us some profits of Jeff Bezos's money, because God knows he has enough. And on top of that, if you want to check me out on social media, you can find me at internalbleeding.crap.town. I'm available there. I post sometimes occasionally stuff that you might find amusing or maybe not. You know, and you'll be like, man, this guy posted something. Shit, I've been following him for a year and I never even saw something he posted. Unfollow that guy. So feel free to reach me out there. Also, like John said, we are on Blue Sky at crap.town. John, back to you.
So that's it. We'll be back. Swill up, buttholes, butthorns, whatever you are. We'll talk to you soon.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
Well, for this month.
I said for this month.
You said the whole reason Crummy Movie March exists.
I said the theme for this March. I don't know. You're going to correct me
Let's
on
roll
it now.
the
Like,
yeah. You're like, the realization, I can't win.
I can't win no matter what, because you have the ability to make AI say whatever the fuck you want.
No, it doesn't sound quite as good, though. Is when I can just manipulate what you actually said.
I don't sound that good to begin with. Don't fool yourself.
Well, the AI sounds really robotic.
Oh, yeah. I sound really fluid, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
well, at least a little bit better.
The whole reason that this theme exists for Crummy Movie March, it stinks.